You're listening to the Deep Dive Dealcast, the show that dissects every layer of real estate, from the dirt under the deal to the numbers behind the contract. With over 50 years of combined experience, your hosts bring you the truth behind the market shifts, the anatomy of good deals, and the landmines to avoid. Grab your notebook, you're in the right place. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Deep Dive Dealcast. As always, my great friend Judy Forden and I are looking to share tips and dig a little bit deeper than most to show you a little bit of how you can make the most of the real estate market and working a little bit outside the lines. So today we have something that is very much in that vein, and we're going to talk about house hacking. So, Judy, when we talk about house hacking, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so I've done this with quite a few people. House hacking, think about it this way. You're looking to buy a home, and this really it's been going on for years, right? But I think with the interest rates going up and values going up and affordability changing, I had quite a few young couples that just said, I don't want to live in a townhome. I don't want to live in a condo. That's what's affordable to me right now. But if I could buy something where I could live in half of it and rent out half of it, and it would pay half or more of my mortgage, that's something I'd like to try. So that's kind of a real quick rendition of what house hacking can be.
Absolutely. One other one that I've seen quite a bit of is that people right now, especially young people, struggling to be able to afford a home. It's really not in their price range, but they have some friends that all want to go in and get a place with them.
Yep,
And just really quick, right up front, I do not suggest buying a home with your buddy or your girlfriend. Okay. I
agreed.
don't like, you can do what you want to do. It's your house, but I've seen it blow up in people's faces really bad. As an alternative, I would say if you're the person with the credit, you're the one looking to do it, you should buy the house and lease out bedrooms and have them help build your equity and move forward. Same kind of thing, house hacking. But if you've got a bunch of buddies or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or what have you, like maybe not.
Agreed.
But I mean, house hacking can be a really great thing, especially with the home prices the way they are. And that's a really old story. Housing in Utah is expensive. It is, it's going to continue to be so, but there's ways to get around that. Now, if you own a home prices going up is a very, very good thing.
Sure
That's what
is.
you want. That builds your equity, that builds your long-term wealth. If you're on the receiving end of that, that is a beautiful situation to be in.
Right.
So we just want to make sure that we put you on the receiving end of all of that equity and those gains.
Yep. Yeah, and there's different ways to do it, right? Like you said, you can buy a property and just rent out rooms. I have a young
Mhm.
man actually buying a townhome, and that's what he's going to do. Even though that's in a easier price range, it's still a lot for him, and he qualifies, but yet he wants to have some relief of about $1,000 a month where he can rent out a room and share the kitchen area and give him one side of the garage, and he's going to be he's so excited, right? He can finally
Right.
do this. And he's 26 years old. It's amazing. Yeah.
And the other one is, if there's an ADU built on, which makes it easier and, beneficial if you can find one to have that accessory dwelling unit with its own entrance and everything like that. I mean, that's in my opinion probably the easiest, most beautiful way to go about that because
Totally.
someone has their own access, everything like that. And if someone moves out and you're still needing someone to come in and you don't know someone that you really know and trust to have the same
Right.
kitchen and bathroom and stuff that you have, having them have their own stuff is a really good thing.
Yeah. And again, I think in Utah, it's so unusual being from Michigan, right? This is a very unusual thing that you would have found to be a thing. Here, it's very common. Let's also talk about what are the things we have to watch for, because there's rules and regulations, right? Whether there's an HOA, whether there's not an HOA, what the city thinks, what the county thinks. So why don't you lead us in that, Shay? What should the agent they're working with be looking for to protect them?
First off, there's what your mortgage type thinks. So
Yeah.
we'll start there first off.
Okay.
FHA and VA, your government funded loans, they will not allow for this. It needs to be owner occupied and not for rentals. So you're going to want to make sure that check that off because that's a big problem. There are people that do it. I don't suggest it. And just because they won't always catch you, just so you know, there is verbiage in that loan for both VA and FHA that if they catch you doing that, they can make your loan due immediately in its entirety. And that's a pretty stiff penalty. So, first off, there's the loan type. Secondly, homeowners associations, like you talked about. Homeowners associations, some will, some won't. Some can lose their availability with like townhouses and condos. They can lose their availability to be eligible for FHA and VA funding for the entire complex
Because
if
of,
there are too many people that are renting out their units. So a lot of them have will flat out say no, or they have very strict rules on how many that they'll allow. So that's a big one. The next one would be the city. Parking is a big one that usually will kibosh being able to have, a rental out of your home if there's not available rent or
yeah.
available off street parking. And those are the big ones that I can think of. Am I missing anything?
Well, no, that's it. I think too, what we have to look at is there's different ways to house hack, right? You can do where it's Airbnb, so nightly rentals. So that becomes usually more restrictive in most places, not all places, but a lot of places, I should say. So you can do an Airbnb nightly rental. You can do a short term where it could be 3, 6 months, or you can do a regular long term where it's at least a year or more. So some of these townhomes and things like we're talking about, they'll do a 6 month type of a thing and or more, but not less.
Right.
Especially
And
if you're renting out the whole unit. So like this young gentleman that I told you is going to be buying his first townhome in the CCNRs, it talks about it. There's a paragraph that says you can't rent if you live there, but then there's another paragraph that clarifies that you actually can and what the stipulations are. So you just have to really just know the rules and figure that out. But let's talk about Airbnbs. Why do you think? Um, help us to understand why either cities, especially HOAs, why are the Airbnbs sometimes not allowed?
Airbnbs are sometimes not allowed. A lot of it has to do with traffic because an Airbnb sometimes some people will come in and party or have a large group in for an Airbnb and people are in and out. And that's gone away to some extent with the star system and everything because you
Right.
can rate people that have rented. So it's better than it was by far,
Mm-hmm.
but having that constant move in, move out, and then cleaners, there's just a lot going on in that property. And that's what I've noticed with them having, a problem with Airbnbs in HOAs.
Right. Right. And then in some cities, again, they don't allow short term. So your agent needs to help you to know that. What I have found on a couple people that I have helped do this, the Airbnbs in their circumstances, they have actually made more money on the Airbnb. So it's tempting. And, you can go on Airbnb and put in all the details and find out what's renting and how much and how often, and you can figure out what you're going to get a rough per month. But like in this one in South Salt Lake, they get an average of 3,000 a month through Airbnb, and if they were to rent it, they'd probably get 2,500. So significant. 500 is a pretty big
Sure.
deal, right? Yeah.
And with everything coming in, let's pick on Salt Lake County at the moment.
Yeah.
With everything coming in right now, sports comes directly to mind. Sports teams, new stadiums, possibly, an MLB team,
Right.
things like that. There's more demand for Airbnb parking than there has been, or Airbnb,
Hmm.
housing than there has been before. So it is a very viable option
Yep.
for turning a home into an investment or buying it as an investment and having it be pretty lucrative.
Hmm.
But like you said, you need to be really careful. One of those measure three times, cut once type of scenarios where if you bought it and all of a sudden you found out you couldn't use it, that'd be pretty terrible and kind of explode your entire plan. So the right due diligence and the right research and stuff will help you make that a viable long-term option.
Yeah, I just sold one of those in Taylorsville, and the listing agent, and she's a great listing agent, but she said, "Oh, but I know the neighbors are doing it. It's fine. Everybody does it." And I said to my buyers, I'm like, "Nope, we don't do what just because everybody else is doing it." So we went to the city, and sure enough, it's fine. But you want to make sure that you
But if
or
it
your
wasn't,
agent. What we don't want is to tell our clients that they can do something, then we hear back that now they can't, and they can't make their house payment. Oof.
well, and that happens a lot. A lot of agents will say, "Oh, everybody's doing it," or "It's fine," or they don't check.
Utah's
FHA will
easy.
never find out if you're renting it or whatever. That happens all the time. And
Mhm.
I know that we circle back to this inadvertently all the time. Not all agents are created equal.
Right,
Not to sit here and badmouth, but I mean, you got to have someone that really has your back and is willing to
right,
go the distance with your research and your due diligence to make sure that you've checked with the city, you've checked with the project itself, the homeowners association, whatever the case may be, to make sure that at the end of the day, if you're doing this, it actually is going to work for you. Because I've had a couple people that were looking for this and the listing agent didn't know that it wouldn't and
right,
stated, "Oh, it'll be fine." And in our due diligence, we found no, that's absolutely not the truth at all. That was just a lazy answer given, and
right.
it would have been really bad because once you close on, let's call it a $600,000 property or whatever it is, and then they say, "Oh, you can't use
It's
this for the way
yours.
you expected," you're, I mean, you're kind of up the creek with that.
Yep, totally. Yeah. And then just to think about the difference between an Airbnb, a short-term rental versus a long-term rental. So the couple that I was telling about, that they do have their downstairs as an Airbnb. They also have a smaller house that they rent out on a long-term basis. So they decided when they bought the house and they would have a basement apartment, they decided to go Airbnb for two reasons. One was because they could make the extra 500, sometimes more a month, especially during the ski seasons, right in the winter, because of their location. And then secondly, they didn't want to be stuck with a bad renter that was going to be downstairs.
Right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
So, there's all kinds of things to look at. You should be doing the pros and the cons. How does this play out? What are the ramifications going to be? But it has really afforded a lot of young people something, a home that they could get into that they never thought they could at this time. It's been great.
And I've seen it. Well, you bring up two important things. We'll go at them one at a time. In talking about the pros and cons, good renters, okay? That is a
Mhm.
very, very important thing. And if you're going to rent that out, I strongly suggest, making sure that either you fully vet or hire somebody to fully vet your
Yes,
people that are going to rent with a criminal background, with a credit check. You never know unequivocally how good the renters are going to be. But if you do a credit check, you do a criminal check, and you talk to, past landlords, you have a better idea.
for sure.
And just remember, if someone trashes your house, that can get real expensive really fast.
Yes.
And then the second thing that you said was like young people doing this. I've actually seen and helped a few people that were empty nesters
Oh,
that
yeah.
had ADUs that were utilizing their ADU basements and things like that to afford, to help them subsidize Social Security or whatever they
Sure.
were, using on with their income to make life easier. One of them had lost their partner, and this was helping them, have that house payment, make that house payment and be able to live the lifestyle that they needed, and they were otherwise worried when the income from their partner stopped coming in. So it can
Great.
be good. I
Yeah.
mean, some people come up with, safety and security concerns, and those are absolutely valid. But again, making sure you have the right renter in there can make a great scenario for an older person, an older
Yep.
couple that are subsidizing that income.
Yeah, great point. In fact, two people on my block actually do that now that you say that. And it's exactly what they did. They did it just for that extra. They're older, and it's just a great way to have that. I mean, when you're talking a couple $1,000s a month, that's pretty good extra when you're, retired for sure.
Yeah, when you're on a fixed income, that makes it a
Hmm.
big change, big difference.
Totally. I want to go back to the credit checks. I know that the people that I have sold to, there's a couple apps. You can look them up. The one that I was talking about earlier, they use, I think it's called Turbo Renter or something like that. But anyway, they're apps that do everything. The applications come into the app. They do the credit check, they do the criminal check, they do all of and not only that, but then that's where it's a portal, all the rentals, all the money goes into that. So everything is done in one place, and they say, yes, they talk to their renter, but honest, not the Airbnb. This is just a true rental.
Right.
Everything goes through this portal. They don't have to worry about anything. It's all done there. If there's a repair need, they go into the portal. It's just like if you when you used to live in an apartment, right? It's these apps now make it so you can actually do it for your house that you're renting out. It's pretty slick.
And there are a number of them, not to, push one above the other. I think Redler's
Yeah.
got something like that. But the point is there are really good resources now to help protect you, be able to look over the applications,
Right.
the background checks, all of that. And it makes it a whole lot easier than it has been in the past to do it.
Yes.
Now, if you want to have a property manager, that's great. They
Mm-hmm.
can take a lot of that off your plate. And
Yep.
I know a few that are absolutely wonderful.
Yep.
They do a great job. But if you want to do it yourself, it's a whole lot easier and a lot less scary to do it yourself than it has been prior.
In the past. Yeah. Now we have all these resources that back in the day we didn't, for sure.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of options between the short-term rentals, long-term rentals, the Airbnb. There's a lot, and each one has its own positives and negatives.
Hmm.
And like anything, it's best to sit down with your team and discuss, this is what I want to do. This is, kind of the inclination that I have. Let's talk about it. Let's get all of the details, the good, the bad, and the ugly of
Yes.
each of these paths, and then look at it to go eyes wide open and make a fully educated decision, which will help you find more success
Yep.
and take a whole lot of the fear and uncertainty out of it.
Completely. And you can do this just for your own, for the now. And like this couple, like I said, they had bought a small home. We went and bought them the second home that had the ADU in the basement. So now they have a rental. Now Airbnb this the basement. Now they're looking to buy their third home. They'll rent out both the upstairs and the downstairs and buy finally their own home that they can afford just for themselves. It was a very smart, good plan that they waited enough time to be able to move through the different increments of that.
Absolutely. When I built the home that I live in currently, I built it with the availability to have an ADU in the basement, and I've got that all built out now.
Yep.
And I've rented it, but realistically, I did that for if my children that have moved out decide they need to come home,
And a lot of
or
times they do.
or my aging parents
True.
need to
Yes.
come home for any reason. If they never need it, fine, that's great. I can rent it, it's not a problem. But if they ever do, it gives me a great peace of mind knowing
Right.
that my kids or my parents, if they needed, had, a 2 bedroom, 1 bath apartment with
Hmm.
its own entrance and stuff, their own
Yep.
thing. And if they needed it, it was always right there, and I have that available for them.
100%. And again, with ADUs, that most of them here in Utah are considered the basement apartments. And we didn't really talk about buying duplexes or fourplexes. That's always an option as well. I have
Mhm.
another couple that did that. But an ADU could also be a separate property in the backyard as well. We see that, but I think we see more of the split levels or the types of homes where it's an up and a down. So just know that when you say ADU, it could mean all different things.
It could. And when you're talking about a separate structure, my mind immediately says, oh my gosh, we really need to talk to the city first, because
Yes.
some cities have a very, very big problem with that.
Hmm.
Just in inception, they won't do it. Others are like Saratoga Springs, they're thinking about getting into it, but they haven't previously. So again, measure twice, 3 times, and then cut once, but having a plan can be great. And duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, there's a lot there too. It might be a little bit more on the purchase, but having a number of renters, if you're interested in that
Yes.
lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle, make no mistake.
Yes. Yes.
If you hire a property manager, it's not as much of a lifestyle, but if you're doing it yourself, it's definitely a lifestyle that you've chosen.
Hmm.
But there are some people that make out like a bandit and love it and have a great experience. There's a
Yes.
lot of options available.
Yep. Yeah, I just sold a duplex of a client that I just met them. They had bought it previous, and they lived in half the duplex and rented out the other one. And I asked them if they wanted to continue that. They said, no, we'd like to buy a single family home now. That lifestyle was not for them. And that's
Sure.
okay. But it afforded them. They're still glad they did it because now they bought a $600,000 house that they can live in on their own because of their investment. It worked out
Right.
perfect.
And
Yeah.
whether they sold it or kept it and leased it out to offset and used that income to offset their new
Right.
mortgage, that's a great way to move forward as long as it's done intentionally and with a good plan.
Right. Yep. Well, good. I'm so glad we covered this because it's really been an interesting thing in the last few years, especially because, again, prices rose, stayed kind of the same, keep rising, and then the interest rate. So it's just making housing more affordable to people that at this point couldn't do it on their own. So it's been a great experience in my experience.
Because you're a great agent and you tell
Ah,
them the ins and outs. That's
well,
exactly why it's a good experience for them.
yeah. Well,
I'll
thank you for
brag
that.
for you because you won't do
Well,
it
thank you
yourself.
for that. Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I think this is wonderful. I think we covered the bases. There's nothing else that I can really think of. So I guess we'll wrap this one. But
But I do think we'd have quite a few more questions on this episode than we have on many. So if you have any questions, please be sure to, comment below. We have our phone numbers available. Reach out to one or both of us. We're happy to help because it's if you haven't thought about doing it, it could be heavy, but Shay and I know how to do it, and we can walk you through it and protect you.
absolutely. And it can seem intimidating. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So let us know. We'll talk through it. If it's not right for you, that's okay. Like it's better to
Hmm.
find out that it's not right for you than force
Right.
it into being. But Yeah, let us know. Like I said, comment, reach out to us. We're happy to help. With that, we do these for you. So any questions that you have, something that you have been wondering about the real estate market, or you want to challenge us and see how smart we really are, we talk a big game. We're open to it. Send it to us. We'll get to it and go from that on another episode.
Sounds good. Thanks, Shay.
No problem. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Have a good week.
Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive Dealcast. If you found value today, hit subscribe and share the episode with someone who's ready to think deeper about deals. We'll be back next week with another deep dive.